Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi, folks. Cesar here. Thanks for joining us. We have a great show tonight. It's been a little while. I wanted to catch up on some things. I've got some great guests tonight, and my first guest, no stranger to the Inside Scoop here, my good friend, Herndon Town Council member, Sheila Olem. She's been on the council for a few years, and she's won her re-election several times. Congratulations.
Thank you, Cesar. So glad to be here.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I want to first talk about, you're going to be in a couple segments, so let's talk about Herndon.
Okay.
And then we'll get into all the good, cool campaign stuff. How's that?
Okay. Sounds great.
So Herndon's come a long way.
It has. I moved there in 1990,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing the things that are going on in Herndon.
What are some of the top things you're most proud of?
Well, when I moved to Herndon in 1990,
Yeah.
we thought we were going to have Metro in 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
well, you
now
should have.
we should have. So now it is so exciting because I can see where the Herndon station is going to be.
Yeah.
It's almost done. And
There's a lot of construction going out there.
A lot of construction's got those cranes up and down the toll road, which is very exciting. We've got a lot of things going on in Herndon. One of the things we did the first year that I was elected in 2010, Mayor Lisa, that you've had on the show, and I were both elected at that time. She was the vice mayor, and the fire station.
That's right.
It had been talked about for several years.
Right.
Previous council would not talk to the county, so.
Yeah, that was a joint county effort, right?
Right,
That's
and
it.
so the town council had to say, please put us on the bond, on the election ballot so that we could vote on that bond. So that was one of the things we did in 2010. I think that happened on the 2011 election, and then we've been moving forward ever since. And
So just stop right there.
Right.
You got the Metro going.
Yes.
You got the new fire station going.
That we're moving in January.
Okay, those are two pretty important things.
Pretty big.
Stuff's happening.
Right.
Okay, what else you got to follow up?
The first lighting of the WNOD trail
That's
has
right.
taken place
That's right.
in the town of Herndon, and we're getting ready to do our second segment.
So for the folks at home, if you ride through Herndon or run through Herndon or hike or bike or whatever, you can see the lighted portion of the, that is the coolest part.
It is.
Because you know when you're coming into Herndon
Right.
and you see this lit path, that is
Right.
really, really cool.
Yeah, and it starts over close to where the post office is on Van Buren, and then goes through the downtown to where the community center is. And now we're going to take it up on Ferndale and go one more leg down to Crestview.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And all to the 7-Eleven.
Yes.
Wow, very nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
So lots of good news for people that use that trail in the town of Herndon to get around.
So you guys are turning dirt, you're bringing Metro, you're lighting up the path.
Getting updated fire and safety equipment for our citizens.
I saw some development going on.
Yes.
What's that?
Right there at Eldon and Monroe Street. People that have been in Herndon know, in the area, there was going to be this awesome hotel there that
That's right.
a previous council voted down over inches. So now it's going to be developed. There will be retail on the bottom, some condos, and townhomes.
It's a mixed-use residential
Mixed-use,
retail. Yeah.
right there in the downtown.
They look great, by the way.
They're looking really exciting. And I know the businesses that are in town are very excited, especially the restaurants.
Yeah. No, I mean, it feels more vibrant.
Absolutely.
I mean, it feels more welcoming. It feels more alive. It just, you know, I know you've been in the town for a while. I moved there about 8 or 9 years ago, and it's a completely different town now.
It absolutely is. It was kind of gloom and doom there for a while, but now, I mean, the excitement with the lights on the trail, the picnic tables and umbrellas on the Old Town Green, you see a lot of people hanging out on the Old Town Green. Then we've got, you know, the fire station's almost done. Jimmy's
I saw that.
Yes.
I saw
Oh,
that.
and
Like out of nowhere, this
Yes.
like new add-on comes on.
Well, they were going to add on because Telefix closed down, so they were just going to move into that and expand the restaurant. Well, it was not stable, so they had to demolition it and start again, and now the cinder blocks are all up. It's looking like there's going to be a building there, so I know Jimmy's excited, people in town are, so that's another new piece right there.
Yeah, and the folks at home, if you don't know Jimmy's, you got to check it out. It is best chicken wings, I think.
Best chicken wings, like great cheeseburgers, beef on whack, one of my favorites.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Across the street, there's a bunch of restaurants, there's a beauty salon, there's a
Right.
bridal shop. At the end there's a ton of development going on. What's that about?
Okay, one of the last pieces that was this old building that had the a car lot to sell new cars, Subarus. And so they decided to move out to 28, and the owner sold us the land.
Sold the town.
Sold the town the land, and we were able to put all that together with the land where Art Space sits, and then there's a lot of surface parking in the town. So now we've put that out for bids, and we've been working with 2 different developers. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to announce who will be going forward.
Okay, let me just
developing all
recap.
that.
Let me just recap here, Sheila. So, you got the metro.
Got the metro.
You got the fire station.
Fire station,
You got lights on the bike path.
lights on the path.
You got the downtown development, new residential, multi-use,
Yes.
Monroe Station, that thing. And you got this whole zoning, new development thing going on for the potential art space and other mixed-use stuff.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff, but we're not done yet.
Oh, all right, okay. All right, what else is going on?
Well, we're going to add more lights on the trail.
Yeah, we talked about.
We talked about the first section. We're going to put more. We are continually working on mobility for people to use bikes and walking in the downtown.
I saw the Sherrods painted on the roads.
Yes, on Drainsville Road.
Yeah.
Okay, those were our first Sherrods ever. Thank goodness. I keep pushing. I hope we'll get more. I'm on the pedestrian bicycle
You also
advisory
had the
committee.
bike lock rack things, right?
Oh, yeah.
You did that too.
Yeah, those were sitting in when I got elected in 2010, those had been sitting in storage. The town had ordered these cute little racks that
They're
look
awesome.
like bicycles.
Yeah, little bike.
To put them around, make it look quaint in town. You can only get 1 or 2 bikes to each one. And so I looked through the old minutes and said, where are these bike racks? And so they drug them out, dusted them off, we got them up.
Yeah.
So that took about 6 months of, where are the bike racks? So we finally
So
got
people
them
will
out.
be able to bike more in and out of the town.
Park and lock their nice bikes so they don't get.
They could bike to Metro because
to
the
Metro.
town's more bike friendly, right?
We're trying to improve the sidewalks all over town. That takes time, but we just did a big improvement down Spring Street around Pearl, Nash, Wood, and so forth. So that was a big undertaking.
You guys got a lot of projects going on.
Yeah. Yeah, we really do.
How's it been working with the county, the state, or other sort of jurisdictions? And
Well, one thing, I go to these things called the Virginia Municipal League every year, and Herndon, of course, we are the 3rd largest town in Virginia, but a lot of communities don't have a lot of staff, like the mayor might be the acting town manager, and one of the other council members, the finance person, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they really don't have any staff. But we do have staff in our community development and DPW, Department of Public Works, and finance. They know how to look for grants, whether they're with the state or the county or other groups. Like we just got $10 million, and we're going to be doing a widening and improvement on Eldon Street between Herndon and Reston, headed from downtown Herndon, where the Exxon station is at Monroe, all the way to the line with Reston, where the parkway is, the Fairfax County
Sure,
Parkway.
sure.
And so,
yeah, because it backs up there a bit.
yes, and they're going to put bike lanes in there.
Oh, good.
So that's going to be really great for the bikers and the walkers so that it's safer. And we do have our first audio audible traffic light. So if you're visually impaired, you don't know when the lights change. So we are slowly adding those every year. So the first one went down where the Virginia Kitchen and Safeway are. So that's the first one. So we're just going to continue plugging those in. And we do have a visually impaired person that's helping us with where they would recommend that we place them.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff happening. In terms of the immediate projects, we've talked about the big ones. How excited are you with that whole Silver Line completion? I know you mentioned that right off the top. That's 2020.
The Silver Line? Oh,
yeah,
my word! Yeah, I'm really excited about that because I was actually on the Dulles Toll Road Task Force back in 2000, and then everything came to a screeching halt. What, about 2004 or 5? And Herndon had been way ahead of the curve way back then with a design for a metro station. So I'm glad to see that things have moved back up.
What's the latest for that opening?
They're saying 2020, but I'm hoping, I think after the setbacks they had on the phase 1, that they're trying not to be as optimistic, so that I'm being real optimistic that maybe it'll open in 19 instead of 20. That maybe they pushed back the dates, but.
Well, I tell you what, for the folks that were against it, I think what's proven historically is where you have metro, you really have some, if you plan it right, you've got some great development opportunities. And certainly, I think the shift is people going to a more walkable lifestyle versus, commuting. People want fiber, high-speed connectivity, right? They want to be able to telecommute.
And that's something we have in Herndon that some of the other surrounding communities don't have.
Look, there's this huge fiber network. I mean, it's really like, it's Northern Virginia, but Herndon's like right in the middle.
Herndon is in the middle.
So that's amazing.
And we have been for a number of years.
Well, that's a tribute to you, the mayor, the other progressive council members, and I think that's really something to be proud of. So.
We are.
Hang in there, because we're going to come back in our next segment. I want to talk about the campaign you just had.
Okay.
And some of your views and some things. So, folks, hang with us. We'll be right back with Councilmember Sheila Olem talking about the campaign.
Art, a universal language, an expression of culture, of self. And now, thanks to Empowered Women International, a way for emerging and established immigrant and refugee artists and artisans to find hope to earn a living while enriching the lives of all of us. Empowered Women International, making a better America every day. For more information on Empowered Women International's educational programs, or to make a tax-free donation, contact cfrip at AOL.com.
Tell which kids have trouble with their eyesight. But that's not always the case. Even though 1 in 4 children may have a vision problem, eye doctors tell us the symptoms aren't always so obvious. We do know that 80% of all childhood learning is visual. And without good vision, kids can have trouble learning to read and may fall behind in school. For clues on how to spot the real-life signs of childhood vision problems and what parents can do, visit checkyearly.com. A public service message from the Vision Council of America and Reading is Fundamental.
we're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back in our second segment. Returning is my guest, Councilmember Sheila Olem. We talked about Herndon and what was going on, but let's talk about the election you just had.
Okay.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Different election this go around, right?
Yeah, I tell you, I've been in Herndon for 20 some odd years, and in the past, because we had a May election, and because people did not vote at their normal precincts, the goal was to convince people that there was an election in May and to please go vote, and how important it was to get out and vote.
Now, the change of May to November was. How do I describe that? That was a hornet's nest in a lot of sense. And I know you were certainly I supported it.
Yes.
The mayor certainly was on board. Why was it so weird and divisive, do you think?
I think just from my past experiences on other things like the Board of Zoning Appeals, people don't like change. And I think that it maybe some individuals that have been more active felt like they were losing control because this would bring in a larger number of people to vote.
And by larger numbers, and I looked at the numbers, so on average it was 2,200, maybe 2,500 in May.
Right.
November, those numbers went 6,500, 7,500. Almost like
it was
a threefold.
Over 8,000.
Yeah.
I believe we had over 8,000. Yes.
3 times easily the number.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was huge. But there were a lot of reasons. Every year, started the last 2 elections, I actually took signage up to the middle school and the elementary school, which are Herndon polls, but everyone voted at the community center, and would put those up at the schools. And the staff at the school says, "Oh, we're so glad you're putting that sign up." But even then, people still were ringing the bell because you now have to ring a bell to get in schools. And
so it was confusing because you vote here in May, you vote there in November, and it was like, it was just goofy.
And school is not canceled you don't have a teacher work day. So what that means, if you live in Herndon and work in DC or Arlington or Alexandria, and your boss doesn't believe that there's a real election because people got questioned, then the traffic is horrendous. Whereas in November, there is no school. They have a teacher work day. The traffic is a lot lighter, so it makes it much easier for people to vote. And their bosses, places of work, know that they're going to be voting. And they'll give them time off, time to an extra hour to get to work or to leave early so that they can do their civic duty and vote.
So, beyond all the arguing and the for and against, there was a lot of people that voted in the town election.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think the number was, you said it was over 8,000, but it was like a solid 8,000 and then some.
Right.
More than any other
Over.
council election to date.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And there were only 300 people that voted in the presidential election that did not vote in the town election.
Right.
Whereas there were we just didn't have much participation because people didn't know about it.
So I heard you knocked on a ton of doors.
I tried.
A lot. Now, you had an accident, by the way. You were sidelined there for a little while, right?
Yeah, I was. I broke my ribs in July. I don't know why I did that, but made it pretty hard. Just carrying the brochure. I know.
I never seen you stop knocking on doors. It didn't seem to slow you down.
Well, it didn't totally because I ended up getting some friends. I always like to do something kind of different, so I had made these little calendars of things going on in Herndon, and then just gently told them about Herndon election. But people like Herndon because we have stuff to do, so I thought, well, I'll put that in people's hands, and maybe they'll follow up and look up my website, which I was very happy to say when I got to the polls and was working on election day. People said, "Oh yeah, I looked you up. I like what you're saying about the issues in town." So because November, you turn out more people, and myself and the people I was running with really got out there and knocked on doors, and we had our contact information, websites. So a lot more community went out and checked it out and went, oh. But they were still, when I knocked on doors, going, we have a town council?
Yeah.
So I always run into that.
See, that was the frustrating part for me when I would hear stuff like that, because I mean, the council, the local municipalities, that government affects you more than anything else.
Absolutely.
And for people not to know that we have our own, council, police, all the stuff that comes with it.
Right.
But now they know, right? So.
Well, and we're hoping that, my hope, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm hoping this will motivate some people to get more involved and pay attention to what's going on in their community.
And that's a great point. I mean, that's really what it's about. Which,
Absolutely.
Well, I couldn't really understand why people would want to keep an election in May when turnout is so low.
Right.
I never really got that. I mean, if you want true representative government, more people voting is a good thing. I mean, you may not like how you think more people might vote, but
Right.
that's not what democracy is about for me. It's you take the good with the bad.
Absolutely.
More
Absolutely.
people should vote.
Right.
Anything that allows people that are, legally able to vote.
Right.
Let them vote. Don't make it hard for people. And hell, if you're going to move it to May, leave it to May. Make it, January 1st.
Well, if we're going to have it in May, at least let people vote at their own polls.
Well, that was the other thing that was weird, right? I mean, you just
Right.
And that would. I personally saw it. People would go to their traditional polling location, and it's not here. Wow.
That's exactly
up.
what would happen. They didn't have time, and maybe they weren't really sure where the community center was, and then they would just go to work.
Right.
Or they came at the end of the day, and they got there just in time to go vote, and there's no one there.
Yeah.
So they go home.
No, I think it was great. So you, with Mayor Merkel, had a team running.
Right.
And it appears the entire team got onto the slate. Oh, you got
Yes,
something?
we were telling people to go vote,
Okay, yes.
and then
Oh,
we had a little card here. So this
make
is
it
who
simple.
won.
And if I want to look it up, I can look it up and who these people are.
Or just go see my Facebook. I've got this listed. It's got
Okay.
everybody's name on it.
Magic.
Magic.
So,
Hard work.
So what does it mean to have this team, this group of people, and why this team, why this group of people? I mean,
Well, I don't think you're going to find that everybody's going to agree on everything, but we do want to see the downtown move forward. We do want to see it prosper. We want to see the downtown developed, which that will already be a done deal before the new people come on board. And we just want Herndon to be a vibrant community, and we don't want to be Reston Town Center. We want to be a vibrant community in Herndon, and we want to have places for people to go shop and spend money in Herndon.
yeah, because to that point, there were so many things that just could have happened that didn't happen for whatever reason.
Right.
And it just, as a resident, I always looked at that and just wondered, well, why is this lot here and no one's doing anything with it? And yeah, Metro's coming. Don't we want infrastructure? Don't we want hotels? And we want restaurants? And we want walkable communities? That seems to be the trend.
Yeah, I mean, we actually, prior to myself and Mayor Merkel getting on in 2010, we actually had a council that didn't want the doors to open on the Herndon side of the Metro.
I heard that.
Yeah.
So explain that. So the Monroe station on the north side versus the south side.
They did not want the north side to open for people to get on and off, so everyone would have had to have gone to the south side.
Yes.
And the rationale was that Metro opening on our side would cause more traffic.
On the Parkway? Or in
Just in the
town?
whole town. But we're going to have traffic anyway. And
Well, that's why you plan for different types
Right.
of mobility. I mean, it's either Zip cars, it's Ubers, now it's Ubers, bicycles, people walking, right?
And if you can bike and walk and you live in the town of Herndon, it's much easier to get on the north side than you would have to go across.
Oh, God, yeah.
But even now, I think we might find that a lot of people, if they're taking the WNOD, they may want to just buzz on down to Reston and get on at the Reston station. Or if they really enjoy biking, go on down to Wheelie and park there. Because if you're a real biker, you may want to get your workout in before and after work.
See, that's the cool thing,
Yeah.
though. I mean, you've got people that use that trail from Purcellville to Leesburg to, all sorts of different combinations
Absolutely.
can use that to get on to the metro, wherever they might be. So.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, I'm a big believer in metro. I grew up in the city and lived in Silver Spring. I thought it was a great idea. So,
when I moved to this area from Tennessee, I had delusions of living close to a metro. I had done my student teaching in Mexico City and done all the metro there. And so I was kind of like, wow, we moved to Springfield and the metro wasn't close. So I'm very excited about being able to access that now.
This is why I go back and to kind of tie it up to the campaign. Elections matter.
Oh, they absolutely matter.
I mean,
absolutely.
The certain groups, and it was a small voice, was in control of the town direction.
Right. And things that had been on the back burner for years, moving forward, like an art center, a nature center. We actually had architectural plans to build a nature center, and it got taken off and taken off of the capital improvement project committee list. And so that has now been put back on the CIP, and I hope that we'll have a date for that sometime in the near future.
Well, Sheila, I mean, I think all that's great. And full disclosure, I've donated to your campaign. I support you. I think you're one of the more progressive, forward-thinking voices on council. Keep that fight going.
I will.
Keep doing what I know you do best. It's always a pleasure seeing you in council meetings. And what you got there?
And I just got to point out, we're still a tree city, town of Herndon.
What does that mean?
That means we have a town forester, which is one of the things we have to do. And he's been
The town.
The town.
Okay.
So we are a tree city, as we have.
We fund this in the budget, line item.
Line item, because we care about.
But see, that we have to invest in those things. I just think
absolutely.
This notion that we must cut off all investing and extract everything we can to not, make it a little better. But I just think that's a wrong approach. So.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for everything you do in Herndon. And please come back. I want to hear more updates on that stuff. Folks, we'll be right back with my next guest. Thanks for staying tuned.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org. or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here. Thanks for coming back for our third segment. I have a new guest with me. He's not a stranger to running for office. I think he's run a couple times before. Jeff Davidson, good friend of mine out of Herndon, is a newly elected member of the town council in Herndon. He has a background in DoD management. He actually was the president of his HOA, and that is a tough thing to do. I've been there, tried that. He does have a business background. Jeff, welcome. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me, and thanks. I'm happy to be back here again with you.
Congratulations. This time you're officially on the council here soon, right?
It's been 6 years or so, but I've been persistent and kept at it, and this time we got on the council.
What was different for you this go around?
I think this time I've learned from what I did in the past. I learned how to campaign a little bit, and frankly, this time I've found that interaction with people one-on-one was my strength. So I knocked on more and more doors than I ever have in the past.
You knocked on a ton of doors, right?
Yeah, we've been counting somewhere around 4,000 or maybe even closer to 5,000 households. Yeah, knocking on doors.
Nice.
I started in August, and
nice and
it
hot.
Was some hot weather. Sure. Let me tell you.
Okay.
There were some doors that I knocked on when I was soaking wet, and people invited me in to say, would you like to come in, cool down a little bit, or would you like a glass of water? It was amazing the response I got from the people of Herndon.
That's great.
Yeah, it was just a really positive and enthusiastic response.
Good for you. Good for you. Now, Councilmember Olem was on earlier. We talked a little bit about the move from, you've run in May.
That's right. It's always been May before.
And you ran this time, and it's a November election.
That's right.
Big difference.
Yeah, the first thing was the weather was different. Yeah. Instead of being in the cold, I was in the hot there in the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. The other big thing, I think she talked about the turnout, and so I won't go over those sorts of things. But the big thing that was different for me was the amount of people that I could interact with on a personal level and talk to them. And when I talked to people, what I found was, and this is a truism, I think, but it really makes sense to me, that politics are local. Yeah. People were interested in what was happening in the 2 or 3 blocks around their homes. Sure. Where we had projects going on, they were wondering how that project was going to affect them in their daily lives. And so local government really does have an impact on what people do every day. That's what they're interested in. There's sometimes some of the other politics takes over the news, and we don't hear about the local things, but the local things really important to the people that live in the town.
So the council deals with budget, land use, zoning. But did you go into this with like an idea on one thing, or were there any like epiphanies, anything maybe you learned talking to a constituent, anything like really shift in you?
Well, there's 2 things I'd like to talk about. The epiphany I'll get to in a minute. But I was president of my HOA. I dealt with the town on a fairly regular basis about issues that the HOA was involved in. And I live over by the 7-Eleven at Crestview and Bond Street. That's on the western side of Herndon.
I hear bike path lights are coming.
Yes, indeed, and we're very excited about that. And actually, I told a lot of people about that. So it's coming as soon as we get the funding for that next year. But we live on the close to Loudoun County. Right. Herndon has always had a wonderful relationship with Fairfax County, and Loudoun County, because the town of Herndon is in, or was all in Herndon. In Fairfax County. But now a little piece of it's in Loudoun County. We moved the western boundary just a little bit. I don't want to overstate that, but and lots happening in Loudoun County is affecting the people of Herndon. For instance, Sterling Road and the traffic on Sterling Road, for an instance. There's building going on there already, and they are building a innovation station, metro station, over by the CIT building, which actually is fairly close to a lot of the people who live in Herndon. So just as we have a plan for how we're going to access the Herndon station, we're also working on and want to work on a plan for how people are going to walk, bike, drive, park at the innovation station also. Because that's the one that some people want to use because it's closer.
Yeah, for that portion of the town. Absolutely.
For that portion of town, that's right.
Yeah, and I know exactly where that is because right on the bike path it has a sign leaving Herndon, entering Loudoun County.
Exactly.
It's right.
Exactly.
It's like, wow, that's really close.
Yeah. I actually decided to move to Herndon as I was riding down the WNOD trail, and there's a 7-Eleven right at Crestview and Bond Street, and the townhouses I live in were built right behind it. But I did that, saw them going up, riding on the bicycle. Yeah.
That's real pretty. And that's what attracted me to Herndon. I think we've talked about
I think we have the same story.
Yeah, it's really
it's
cool.
true in both cases. Yeah.
It's the coolest amenity I think out there. So again, congratulations. So what? You scared? You nervous? I mean, you got elected.
Well, there is a little bit of scaredness to it. It's a whole thing. I have run in the past, and so I had myself prepared for either result. I just decided to work as hard as I could this time and roll the dice as I could. The good people of Herndon voted for me. I want to thank every one of you. I appreciated it. And even for those people who didn't vote for me, I want to work for those people and make their lives better also. Those are some of the things that I did with running for office this time.
Oh.
Yeah, it is a little scary. In fact, I lose my train of thought talking about it, but I'm excited about what we might be able to accomplish in the future because there's a lot of things coming up. I think you talked about some of the big things with Sheila Olem, and certainly I'm, as a citizen, I've been on her pedestrian and bicycle advisory committee, so I'm familiar with that. One of the things
you've been involved in town stuff too, right? I mean,
a lot of things, and one of the things I want to tell you about is the historic signs that we put up. We put the first signs up in front of Zeffirelli's and a few other places in town, I think 4, right before the election. It was about 2 weeks before the election we got those up. There's going to be somewhere around 20 signs, historic signs, but they're the types of things and types of ways that we're trying to keep the hometown feeling in Herndon.
They look
Remember
cool,
our history. They're absolutely beautiful. And so I invite anybody who hasn't looked at them to go by Zeffirelli's or one of the other locations and take a look at what we've done. I also had a little impact on the gateway signs, the entrance signs that you're talking about. And if you look at the design at the top, it has railroad wheels, trucks. And going around the top of it. And that kind of links in the railroad, the WNOD trail when it was a railroad, with the coming of Metro.
Yeah. Cool. Love that. Love that. And I think that's just like the neat thing about people like yourself, people that haven't lived there your entire life. Right? You've lived other places, you've been exposed to other things, and you bring it into the town. Hey, here's an idea.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up in a little town called Riverdale, Maryland, or Riverdale Park at this time. They've changed the name a little bit. And it has a railroad that goes right through it. And I remember hearing the 2 o'clock train every night. But that's how I grew up. I'm looking forward to what's happening this coming year. Of course, we have the big downtown redevelopment to look at. We have the coming of the Metro. I'm trying to push access to the Innovation Metro because I think that's important for a lot of people. In general, sometimes the things we can do are about filling potholes or about making sure the roads are resurfaced. And as I walked around and talked to people, they were saying there was a lot of things that were going on. There was some roads resurfacing going on at the time I was walking, and everybody made a comment about it. I guess the important thing that I really noticed was that politics is local, and particularly even in the town, within the few blocks that we're working on, that's what really impacts people right away. And that was a real different thing that I found as I was walking around town.
Well, you talked to 3 times the number of people this time, right? I mean,
yes, at least 3 times this time.
I looked at the numbers, how long did that take you? I mean, what was that whole thing like?
Well, I started sometime in August,
right.
And I finished up right before the election, the day before election.
Wow.
So I retired in January, so I have time to devote to this. And I worked, actually I approached it as a full-time job. I started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and worked till dark, and dark changed, you know, as the months went by. But I approached it as a full-time job, and that's what I was doing all the time.
Good for you. Good for you.
And it seemed to have made a difference. You know, interacting with people is what people respond to, and that's what I found. Yeah.
Now, you said you ran a couple times before. I mean, how just give us the sort of like the backstory. I mean, you lost, it was very close.
Yeah. I've had a couple close encounters with being elected. And this time, I really wanted to be elected. I have the time to vote. I have tremendous love for Herndon. I've lived in there for actually 30 years now, since I moved from Riverdale, Maryland. And I really wanted to give back. My career with the DOD was as a division chief. I handled all the management tasks that would normally associate with management. And I wanted to apply those to town and give back to the town the things that I was able to do based on the skills that I learned in my previous employment, and even in running the HOA, because it's a small HOA. There's only 1 or 2 people that are active in it. You know how that goes. And so you get to do everything. So we had experience in doing each phase.
So you're on with a team of folks that you know them fairly well, right? I mean,
yes, I do. And in fact, I've run with roughly the same team for all 3 times. Of course, that includes Mayor Lisa Merkel, whom you know very well. A very excellent mayor and a good friend. She's done wonders for Herndon, changed the whole attitude of the town.
It's a lot more welcoming.
Yeah, everything from the banners downtown and the umbrellas and the tables at the depot.
Little picnic area.
Yeah, the picnic area. I mean, it's the type of thing that we want to protect as far as Herndon being a community. Things like the Friday Night Live.
That's awesome.
And just like the festival, the car show, the wine festival on Labor Day.
Wine festival's a good big hit.
Yeah, the carnival that goes with it. Certainly the bike trail and emphasizing the bike trail in town. So those are all things that we want to continue, make sure that it remains a happy place to stay, a community of people living in the same town, and yet we address the challenges and the opportunities that are happening all around us, like Metro, like what's happening in Loudoun County, and the other areas around us.
So when is your official swearing-in ceremony? Do you know when that is?
Actually, I don't know what the date of that is. Because we moved the elections, some of the logistics of getting us in place are being worked out right now. As far as I know, that hasn't been set.
So you should invite every person you know. I think it's a cool thing.
You will get an invitation.
Oh, thank you, sir. I was dropping the hint there. So I got it there. But I have a feeling I'll have, hopefully I'll have a few invitations, but I think it's such a cool thing that people step out and run for office. I think it's everyone gives back in a certain way. So I just want to personally thank you for doing what you did. You stuck it out. You learned a bunch of stuff, and you made it happen.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate your saying that, and I know it's heartfelt, and I appreciate it.
No, we're going to have you back. Let's do another 6-month or evaluation.
I would love to do that
after you get sworn in, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
it.
Yes,
folks. We'll be back here with our final segment, and hope you stick around. Appreciate you coming back. Thanks.
I need a job.
Necesito trabajo.
I would like to speak English better.
Me gustaría hablar inglés mejor.
I want to be a U.S. citizen.
Quisiera ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
For over 35 years,
por más de 35 años,
the Hispanic Committee of Virginia has been serving our community.
El Comité Hispano de Virginia ha estado sirviendo a nuestra comunidad.
Job training and placement,
capacitación, ayuda para conseguir trabajo,
education for children and adults,
educación para niños y adultos,
immigration, naturalization, and medical referrals,
ayuda para los procesos de inmigración y naturalización y orientación sobre médicos
are a small part of what we do.
Son solo una pequeña parte de lo que hacemos.
For help, information, or to volunteer,
para ayuda, información o para ofrecerse como voluntario,
contact the Hispanic Committee of Virginia.
Comuníquese con el Comité Hispano de Virginia,
helping everyone participate more fully in American society.
Ayudando a todos a participar plenamente en la sociedad norteamericana.
Where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. To get the whole story, talk to your doctor and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back with our final segment. Before I introduce my guests, just want you to know this is a very real subject for me. I certainly appreciate folks that commit time to this. I am a product of subsidized housing, free lunch, public schools, and anytime someone comes on and wants to talk about and advocate that has a real passion for citizens living in poverty, you got my full attention. I'm here with my dear friend Michele Menepace. She is the chair of the Fairfax County Community Action Advisory Board. Michele, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
We've talked before. Thank you for everything you're doing. Let's talk about this because these are some serious numbers. And it's a serious problem here in the county.
Yes.
And I remember the first time you and I spoke, I couldn't believe some of these numbers. Mm-hmm. I didn't call you a liar, right? I said, come on.
Yes, yes.
But let's talk about
that. Doubtful.
I was like, not in Fairfax County.
Right.
I mean, maybe in some other counties, not in Northern Virginia, but let's talk about the number of families that are at what we would consider poverty, and then the number of kids, and then let's talk about some of the other numbers as people move through the process here.
Well, I will tell you, it's a very small percentage in Fairfax. We're such a big community that the percentage of people who are living below the federal poverty line is very small, but they outnumber every other jurisdiction in the state just because of the sheer numbers. Right. And we've just received information recently and updated the state of the poor here in Fairfax County, and that's available on the Community Action Advisory Board website. But roughly 1 in 16 people in Fairfax, so almost 70,000 people live in poverty. We see 27 or 28% of the students in Fairfax County qualify for free and reduced price meals. Yeah. So it's a very real issue in Fairfax, and to many people, it's an invisible problem. They just don't see it. Some of that has to do with the fact that our community has been very good and very dedicated about ending issues like homelessness. And the 10-year plan to prevent and end homelessness has dramatically reduced those numbers. You see every year our numbers are going down, but it's still a very big challenge. To give you an example, the federal poverty rate for a family of 4 is about $24,000. Okay. Just a little bit above
Family of 4?
Family of 4.
Okay.
And in Fairfax County, you need about $59,000 to live because of how much it costs to live here, whether it's rent, buying a home, just the cost of living in general here in Fairfax. So it doesn't take much to understand how easy it is to be working poor, and that's the majority of the people that we see in Fairfax. They are working poor. Many people are just one illness away from being in that circumstance. So it's a very real problem, and it is one of the most rewarding things I've done in my life is working on this issue here in Fairfax.
Oh, I thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. And I want the folks to understand, and we'll go through the numbers, but in terms of the number, I mean, there's roughly 1.1 million people that live in the county. And as we talk about the numbers, keep in mind, as we talk about percentages, we're basically talking the percentage of the county population. And that's what I want to make sure the folks understand here, that when we talk about 6%, we talk about 7%, it's of the 1.1 million county residents.
Correct.
And that's of the ones we know of.
Right.
So, let's keep that, in mind as we go through these numbers. So let's first talk about the children, because I think for me that is like one of the biggest painful things, right? To know that there are children not only living in poverty, but they're going hungry, and let's talk about that number. Let's I think the one number is 1 in 13 children under age 5.
Right, and just over 19,000 under the age of 18. So it is a very real issue. Here in Fairfax, a number of our schools, I can't remember the exact number, receive weekend food packs for children in our elementary schools from the food distribution site Food for Others. And
so
that means
this is not a county run, it's a sponsored separate organization.
Right. Food for Others is an independent nonprofit organization. They do receive some funds from the county.
But they have to raise their own
They
funds.
do have to raise all of their own funds, and they have private sponsors. And this particular program...
I just didn't want people pounding on my door saying we're giving away food to hungry kids.
No. Food for Others is a private nonprofit organization. They're interconnected with the food banks and food networks in the area.
That was just a shout out to my Christian friends that don't want to feed people. So.
Well, but what's interesting
But you're
is,
nonpartisan, I'll leave it at that.
Well, regardless of where you are on the religious spectrum, feeding people and providing shelter is good public policy, because it actually costs us money when they are not fed, when they are not housed, whether it's crime rates, health issues where they have to use emergency rooms for free. Many of those issues are ameliorated when they get housing, when they get decent food to eat. But Food for Others does a weekend food drive or food pack distribution so that children who only get their meals from school, breakfast and lunch have something to eat during...
What about during the summer?
During the summer, both the school system and these private organizations reach out and make connections to these families. FCPS was doing weekly food distribution, as well as cooking fresh things so that families could come together and eat at schools around the county. And they have been doing food distribution during the summer as well.
Great, that's great. I can just say it's expensive to eat healthy.
Yes,
yes. You ever go buy some fresh fruit or just... It's not cheap.
Correct.
It's cheaper to hit Mickey D's.
Well, and groups like the Capital Area Food Bank have been trying to, and Acadia, Sustainable Agriculture, are trying to get more fresh foods into communities where they don't have access to it at all, just because they can't get to grocery stores that provide enough of that for them, or they can't afford it. So there are efforts going on. This summer, I'm very proud to tell you that the CAB did our food drive. And one of the aspects of that was collecting food at the end of the farmers markets around our county. And over 2 tons of food was donated between non-perishables and then what our farmers provided for us. So every week we had about 400 pounds of fresh produce that Food for Others was able to distribute to our families in need here in Fairfax, and that's really exciting.
That's great.
It is.
What are I mean, let's get as much info out to people. What are the top things you want folks to know about so they can help or maybe contribute or volunteer?
Well, in light of a Republican president and a Republican Congress, there's much hand-wringing in the nonprofit community and in organizations like ours. Well, because generally, as you mentioned before, the idea that the public should not be providing emergency assistance or helping with housing has many nonprofits and organizations like the Community Action Advisory Board concerned about what's going to happen. So we're going to be keeping our eye on that.
and we encourage all of our residents to do the same, to reach out when they can to volunteer, whether it's at a nonprofit providing shelter for victims of domestic violence, whether it's at Food for Others providing food, especially now at the holidays. Always looking for gift cards from grocery stores so that clients can buy meals so that they can celebrate the holidays as well. Whenever they can be generous. Fairfax is a very generous community, and so I would urge them to do that. And then also just keep your eye out for what's happening with federal support. Our local leaders are very sensitive to the needs of our community and very generous to do what we can to make sure that this issue is addressed in our community. And I'm very proud of our local leadership for doing that. But poverty hasn't ended, and the Community Action Advisory Board is part of the organization that began with LBJ's War on Poverty, and we're still here.
Wow.
So in 50 years, we haven't eliminated it. And so I would remind everyone, especially at this time of the year, to be sensitive to the needs of the neediest in our community.
It's quite, for me, it's real simple. It's kind of this innate thing within us all to kind of help each other. I'm not suggesting we take care of people. Okay, I'm not suggesting that in any way, but there seems to be, you know, a lack of empathy, I think, for some people.
Well, and the great thing about the CAB, for example, is partnering, creating public-private partnerships, helping to link together organizations that can provide funding or provide volunteers with the organizations that actually do the work. And that's the great thing about having nonprofits do it. You don't have the restrictions that you have like with a government agency. And so it's able to expand the reach of the funding that we do get.
But they do need some support, right? And I find that when you have people, volunteers that get inspired to do something, then it's government's role to try to empower them, not necessarily support them.
Yes, and that's a part of what the Community Action Group does. But our county has public-private partnerships office, so they try to encourage more of that to help get more of the community involved and aware of the needs that exist. But they also we have Volunteer Fairfax, which is funded through the county to help encourage volunteerism. So there are many opportunities for anyone in our area to get involved, whether it's financially or with their own time.
Okay. Now, I forget, next year, Commonwealth statewide elections, any local supervisor, any of those offices up for re-election, or am I missing an election cycle?
I don't remember.
Okay, me either.
I'm focused on poverty.
Yeah, I know that. Well, because the actual state elections, I forget who was in
Board of Supervisors was last year.
Okay, so I just was told my producer says they were last year. So you don't have to worry about that. The board of directors, I mean.
No, but the meals tax was just defeated. And so there's that extra money, it's going to have an impact.
Well, you win some, you lose some, but don't ever stop fighting, Michele.
And I don't ever doubt the generosity of Fairfax.
Thank you for coming on. We'll have you on. You're one of my favorite guests, folks. I meant this sincerely. I love having Michele on talking about this issue. It means the world to me. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.